So welcome to Helsinki, where today I'm trying out Finnair's supposedly revolutionary no-recline business class seat on their beautiful Airbus A350 to London Heathrow. It's a relatively short flight, but gives a great showing of the Finnair business class experience, and shows you why they're one of the best airlines in Europe, if not the world. You'll also get to see that there are some pretty obvious drawbacks with the no-recline design, but it is still worth considering on your next long-haul flight, especially when you can pay just 17,500 Avios plus £40 like I did today. Helsinki Vantaa is a great airport, by the way, probably now in my top 3 airports alongside Singapore Changi and Oslo Garden Moen. It has a really modern, spacious design with lots of natural light, there's loads of comfortable seating, and it actually feels quite calm and quiet even when crowded. Just a super efficient and well designed airport. Not too big either, so you probably won't have to walk for miles on end. The airport website also has a great map, so here's the route I took through the airport. It took about 3 minutes to clear security and the priority line was almost empty. Plus they have the new scanners which don't require you to take laptops or liquids out of your bag. Then through passport control, which took about a minute, and heading to gate 47 with a brief stop at the very relaxing Finnair Business Lounge. Now just take a moment to hear how quiet the airport is despite being pretty busy. Either Finnish people are just really quiet in general, or they did a really good job designing the acoustics of the terminal. My flight was at 7:50 AM and I had some time to kill, so I headed to the Finnair Business Lounge. As far as airline business lounges go, I would say this one is slightly above average. They've nailed the Finnish design aesthetic, it was very spacious, and it wasn't crowded at all at 7 AM. There's also a good variety of seating, some private and some more open. They kept it very clean too, and there were plenty of showers to use during a layover. The only thing holding it back is that there are no windows, which is a shame if you enjoy plane spotting like me. Also, the breakfast was a huge disappointment. There's a bar which opens at 10:30, so I was too early for that, as my flight was due for departure at 7:50 AM, even though it actually ended up departing much later, as you'll find out soon. Now looking at the breakfast selection, it's extremely lackluster. A very limited selection of mostly cold foods, all very Finnish. And obviously we're in Finland, so you would expect a Finnish breakfast, but a bit of variety would be nice. And even then, it was just a worse selection compared to what you see in other airline lounges. I got a coffee, their signature blueberry juice, and a few bites to eat. The bacon and potato omelette was okay, but that was about all the praise I can give. The showers, on the other hand, were very good, and you can reserve them for 30 minutes at a time. And there were plenty available whilst I was there. It was clean, spacious, and had all the amenities you could need. So overall, a very comfortable and relaxing lounge with great design aesthetic. Just a shame that their breakfast was kind of bad, but I have seen online that their lunch and dinner options are much better. Also, they've got this cool little exhibit celebrating their 100-year history, which was interesting. Finnair are in fact the world's 5th oldest airline still in operation. They were 6th, but recently took the 5th spot after Czech Airlines went bust last year. And Finnair staff use these little scooters to get around the airport. That's a first for me. They also have a pretty classy uniform with this sort of cloak thing, also pretty unique. So here's our 9-year-old Airbus A350-900 taking us to London today, with a very cool One World special livery. Now we actually boarded the plane on time. Unfortunately, the weather decided not to cooperate. Specifically in London, where it was one of the few days of the year with freezing fog causing mass delays to basically every flight. After boarding, we sat at the gate for over 1.5 hours waiting for the green light. Fortunately, I was in about the comfiest spot you can be during a delay, so it wasn't the end of the world. Now before we board, here's the route map and stats for today's flight. After taking off 1 hour and 45 minutes late, we headed over Sweden, Denmark and the North Sea before descending into a very chilly London. Still not as chilly as Helsinki though. London was -4 degrees, but Helsinki was -9. But of course, London was the only one experiencing delays. Now looking at the seat map, you can see there are 43 business seats in a 1-2-1 configuration, split across 2 cabins. And I went for seat 8A, mainly for the great engine view. Right off the bat, I can say this seat is one of the most spacious business class seats I've been in, and despite not having a door, also feels extremely private. You really have to lean forward a lot to catch a glimpse of another passenger. You get 2 comfy pillows, which are actually very helpful considering this seat doesn't recline. It takes some getting used to, but if you prop the pillows well, you can adjust the seating position to suit you. Since it's a short haul flight, they only give you economy headphones, but there's a wireless charger, which is always good to see. There's also a small cubby here with a TV remote plus a USB-A and USB-C port, and a classy looking reading light you can move around. I will say though, if you're used to sitting in an armchair style seat with 2 armrests, then this seat probably isn't for you, as this seat has no armrests at all, which I did miss. You can kind of rest one arm by the table, but it's too far away to feel natural. Apart from that though, I'm a huge fan, and just look at how much legroom there is. If you're tall, your feet might feel restricted as it gets narrower further in, but for me it was great. Also, I just think Finnair really nailed the design and materials used on this seat. With a combination of dark fabric and leather with the light wooden trim, it feels really cozy, and very Scandinavian. The table folds out from the side, and it's just a normal table really, nothing special there. But if you're in the middle of a meal, you can push it back and slip out of your seat, which I appreciate. After all, there's nothing worse than needing the loo whilst trapped in your seat during the meal service. And here's the seatbelt for when you're lying down. Now time to demonstrate the no-reclininess of this seat. The seat back actually stays completely upright. To lay down, you just flip this bar up, then press the button to raise the leg rests, and you're now sitting on a bed. On long haul flights you'll get a mattress pad too to make it comfier, but even like this it was still comfortable. This design works because the seat has so much space and the footwell is so long that there's no need to even recline in the first place. I haven't flown too many business class seats recently, so I can only make a few comparisons, but for me it's much better than Virgin Atlantic, Iberia and BA's old Club World seat, and similar or maybe even slightly better than Cathay Pacific and Singapore Airlines. And I'll be flying BA's new club suite in May, so it'll be interesting to see how that compares. Now for a quick tour of the IFE system. The screen is a very well sized 18 inches and the movie selection is pretty good, at least for Western movies. The TV show selection wasn't anything special though, and I saw they had The Office, which I was about to watch, but it was the British version, which I found surprising to see on an airline. And I'm ashamed to say, despite being British, I actually prefer the American version of The Office. Besides that, there are a few games, and overall the interface feels very modern and snappy. Plus the A350 has external cameras, which are always one of my favourite things to watch. But only one of the 2 cameras was actually working, which I found funny as on my previous Finnair flight on a different Airbus A350, that one also had a broken camera. Here you can watch my reflection looking confused at the fact the camera doesn't work. About 10 minutes after boarding completed, the captain announced a 20-minute delay due to freezing fog in Heathrow. No problem, I thought. We should still arrive on time.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the purser of the flight, and warmly welcome on board, also from the cabin crew. Unfortunately, there's a delay today due to the weather in London.
But then another 20 minutes passed and the pilot came on again to say we'd been delayed a further 1 hour and 10 minutes. There are worse places to spend a delay than a very comfy business class seat, but it was a little bit annoying, especially for people connecting in London. But eventually, after sitting on the ground for 1.5 hours, we started moving. And just look how much smoke came out of the engine when they started it up. Apparently this is quite common when it's freezing cold outside.
Thank you. Cabin crew ready for safety demonstration.
Hello, and welcome on board Finnair. Before departure, we require your full attention for a moment. Our safety depends on both our crew and on you. We are here to ensure your safety on board. It's essential that you always follow the instructions.
It was a pretty dull safety video, so let's look out the window instead.
And when not in use during the flight, the safety features of this aircraft can be found in the safety card located in your seat pocket.
One benefit of the delay is that it was actually light outside now, and the early morning light in Helsinki was really rather pretty. So as a YouTuber, I can be grateful I was able to get some amazing takeoff footage and pictures. On our way to the runway, we stopped at the de-icing station, and since I'm from the UK, this is a rare sight for me, so I always enjoy watching it. Here's the entire process sped up a bit, as it took a few minutes. I always think it must be a satisfying job spraying the wings down, especially if it's covered in a lot of snow.
Cabin crew, prepare for takeoff.
You can see the moon about to set under the horizon, and it looked absolutely massive from this angle. Minutes after takeoff, a flight attendant passed by handing out hot towels, which is a rarity nowadays in intra-European business class. It was also boiling hot, so the reason you can see me tossing it and then dropping it is because my hand was about to get burnt. Now for the breakfast, there was only one option, so unless you ordered a special meal, it was take it or leave it. And I have to say, this was one of the better breakfasts I've had on a plane. I tend to hate egg dishes on planes for some reason, maybe something to do with how pressurization affects the taste buds. But this one was at least decent, if a bit bland. I also made a little ham and cheese sandwich from the bread, butter and cold plate. And here you can see my face of mild enjoyment. As I said, I don't think I've ever really enjoyed a breakfast on a plane, especially when eggs are involved. But Finnair did a good job here, and the ham and cheese on the side plus a fruit bowl makes for a filling meal. And shortly after that, the flight attendant came round with fresh warm croissants and jam, which I couldn't refuse. Now for the loo review. It's a good size as you'd expect on an Airbus A350, and there are 3 bathrooms shared between 43 business class seats, but it's useful to know the rear toilet doesn't have a window whilst the one at the front does, so I recommend you go to either of the front 2 toilets so you can do your business whilst enjoying the view. Also, business class passengers get 1 hour of free Wi-Fi. But if you want more, it could cost €15 for 3 hours or €25 for the whole flight. You do get a slight discount if you're a Finnair member, but I still think it's a bit of a rip-off. The speed isn't even that good at about 9 megabits. Even British Airways are offering free Wi-Fi these days, so I think Finnair are lagging behind here. After 2 hours in the air, we began our descent into a very foggy and chilly London. I always enjoy flying into London, and the views today were especially good, with amazingly clear skies and the fog making it seem like skyscrapers just emerging from nothing.
tillfreds med oss idag. Tack och välkomna åter.
So we ended up arriving in London Heathrow about 50 minutes late. Annoying for sure, but I don't tend to blame the airline for delays caused by weather. Overall, this was a really good flight, and for me at least, I think Finnair are now my favourite airline in Europe. Both their economy and business class are great, and Helsinki airport is fantastic too. The no-recline seat specifically is really spacious, comfy and private. I can understand why some people might not like it, and I definitely think it could do with some armrests. But the amount of legroom and privacy make the trade-off worth it in my eyes. In-flight service was also good, and I think from the uniforms to the aircraft livery and branding, Finnair are just a really classy airline and a breath of fresh air. Now here are my full thoughts and a detailed score, so pause the video if you want to read that. I was able to book this flight through British Airways for £17,500 Avios plus £40, which I think is a great deal considering I booked this last minute and the one-way ticket would have been about £400. And here is my tier list of every airline I've flown on the channel to date, with Finnair retaining their score of 8 out of 10 after my previous A350 economy flight, which you can watch by clicking the link on the screen now. Coming up, I'll be reviewing Loganair and easyJet to name a few. So thanks for watching, don't forget to like and subscribe, and goodbye.